We went to Rakaia Gorge a couple of weeks back. It was a track that we've always planned to do, but we just never go around to do it. It was one of those places we'd talk about visiting for ages, and we decided this was going to be the weekend we finally did it. It's an hour and a half from Christchurch, so it makes a perfect day trip. Before leaving home, we packed ourselves some lunch so we can stop somewhere along the track and eat something. There are two main walks you can choose from. You can either do the short walk to the lookout, which takes about an hour return, or you can do the full loop, which is 10 k's. We decided we were going to do the full loop. Well, that's what we thought, and you'll find out later in the video why we didn't quite make it. As soon as we arrived and started walking, I was blown away by how beautiful it was. One of the first things that stood out to me was the color of the water. It was such a bright, vibrant blue that it almost looked fake. It honestly looked like someone poured a big bottle of blue Powerade in the water. It turns out that amazing blue color comes from something called glacier flour. They're tiny rock particles created by glaciers high in the southern Alps. As the sunlight hits those particles, it gives the river its beautiful turquoise color. As we continued further into the track, we quickly realized how muddy the track actually was. Some sections were dry and easy to walk on, but other parts were thick, sloshy mud. You couldn't really walk around it either, so you pretty much had to walk straight through it. If you're planning on doing this walk, I definitely recommend wearing shoes with good grips and clothes you don't mind getting muddy, especially if you're visiting during winter or after it's been raining. Eventually we made it to the lookout. It was absolutely beautiful, and videos and pictures don't do it justice. Standing there you can see the Rakaia River winding its way through the gorge, with the southern Alps stretching in the distance. The views were honestly breathtaking. We spent a while just taking everything in. We took photos, had a drink, and just enjoyed being present before continuing on. As we continued further along the track, we came across bright yellow gorse flowers growing beside the path. Because I brought my foraging gear with me, I made a mental note to collect some on the way back instead of picking them straight away. Cloth bushes were brought over as hedging for wildlife in the 1800s. The problem is they're quite invasive here in Aotearoa. What makes them super invasive and hard to get rid of is that they release 10 years worth of seeds with one plant. So even if you do destroy the plant, there's already 10 years worth of seeds underground, and you just can't collect them all. As a result, gorse changes landscapes, reduces native habitats, and disrupts the river system. Gorse flowers traditionally have been used in folk remedies to support the immune system, but I like to have it for tea for the relaxing effect. I also noticed parts of the track where it looked like people had recently been repairing the track. There must be a group of volunteers maintaining it. As we kept walking, I noticed little springs coming out of the hillside beside the track. Water was flowing straight out of the bank and running across the path. I think that's probably why most of the track was quite muddy, so parts of the path stayed wet all year round. As we were walking, we came across a side track with a sign pointing towards a mine entrance. I had no idea mines were even in this area, so we went down to have a look. The mine tunnels in Rakaia Gorge were part of the Snowdon mine, operating from the late 18th century, and it was fully abandoned by 1904. There were 3 tunnels, each 30 meters long, built into the hillside. Coal was mined for local use, and the tunnels are still visible along the track today. After turning around from the mine, we continued to walk a little further along the main track until we came across the Fantail Trust Visitor Centre. It was such a lovely surprise because we weren't expecting it to be there. The visitor centre was just off the path. I opened a wooden cupboard and there were all sorts of little handmade items. There were keychains, ceramic heart decorations, postcards with beautiful artwork on them, earrings, necklaces, and other little trinkets. I ended up buying a silver pair of bird earrings. They don't accept cash, instead each item has the bank transfer details attached to it, so you just need to transfer the money directly. All the proceeds go towards restoring and protecting the area, which I thought was really special. I volunteer at a local forest that also supports the ecological restoration. It was really nice to see other groups putting so much effort into looking after our wildlife and the environment. Beside the visitor area, there was a visitor book where you could write your name and leave a message. There was also a winter hotel. Unfortunately, there was only spiders living in it. I suppose that's just nature. Everyone needs somewhere to live, even the spiders. But I was secretly hoping to find a winter inside. After looking around for a while, we assumed we reached the end of the track. There was a stream beside the visitor center and we thought that was where the walk finished. It wasn't until we got home later and looked at the map that we realized we made a mistake. If we had followed the stream to the left, the walking track actually continues. Without realizing it, we turned just before the final section of the loop. That's why we only ended up walking 9.4 Ks instead of completing the 14K circuit. If anything, I'm actually excited because it gives me a reason to come back and finish the last part another day. After leaving the visitor center, we walked back and found a perfect spot to have lunch. After 3 hours of walking, it felt really nice to stop and rest our legs and enjoy the scenery for a while. Once we finished lunch, we started making our way towards the car. On the way back, we came across 3 pine needle trees. Pine needle tea is actually one of my favorite teas, so I decided to collect some while we were there. I made sure to collect the bright young needles as they're perfect for steeping in tea. Unfortunately, this type of pine tree is also an invasive species here in Aotearoa. They were introduced to New Zealand in the 18th century. They spread rapidly across the country and can take out native plants, grasslands, and shrublands, which are crucial for habitats for native wildlife. Even though I love making this tea, it's also important to remember they're doing a lot of damage to New Zealand's ecosystem. Pine needles are rich in vitamin C and antioxidants. I'm just a huge fan of tea and I really love the flavor. Just be sure to identify them correctly, since not all pine needles are safe to consume. You can use the fresh needles by steeping them in hot water using a tea strainer. But I put my pine needles into a paper bag and leave them in a dry place like a cupboard for a couple of weeks until they're completely dry. After that, I transfer them into a glass jar for long-term storage. That helps keep their flavor and aroma much longer, and you can enjoy pine needle tea whenever you would like throughout the year. As we continued walking back, we came across a lady who unfortunately sprained her ankle. I have heard a lot of people have hurt themselves or sprained their ankle on this track, which is why I would encourage anyone doing this walk to take their time. If the mud is too thick, the track feels unsafe, or you're not feeling confident, there's absolutely nothing wrong with turning around. Your safety is always more important than reaching the end. We're also an hour and a half away from Christchurch, so help isn't always immediately available. Taking your time, watching where you're stepping, and knowing your limits are all part of having a safe, enjoyable walk. Altogether, it took us around 4 hours to walk to the visitor center and back to our car. The scenery was incredible. We discovered places we weren't expecting, learned a little bit about the area's history, found some plants to forage, and came home with another adventure to remember. Sometimes the best part of an adventure isn't ticking it off a list, it's noticing the little things along the way. Thank you so much for coming along with me, and I'll see you in my next adventure. Bye!